This is a story of love, sacrifice, betrayal, and hope. Stay tuned. In a quiet Nigerian university town, where the red dust clung stubbornly to the tires of passing motorcycles and the evening breeze carried faint echoes of campus fellowship. Songs, students walked with hope in their eyes and ambition in their hearts. The town itself seemed alive with dreams. Crowded lecture halls buzzed with chatter, libraries smelled of old books and ink, and ancient mango trees that had stood for decades whispered their own secrets to those who sat beneath their shade. Among thousands of students chasing success and survival, two names slowly became inseparable: Daniel and Rose. If you saw Daniel walking across campus with his backpack slung over one shoulder, Rose would be right beside him, her laughter floating behind him like a soft melody. If Rose lingered near the faculty building, talking and laughing with friends, Daniel would quietly join her, smiling in a way that made her feel seen. In classrooms, they sat side by side, sharing notes and whispering solutions. In the library, they huddled over textbooks, Daniel explaining complex algorithms until Rose's eyes lit up with understanding. During exams, they prayed together, and at fellowship meetings, their hands intertwined as hymns rose into the night. To everyone observing, they were the embodiment of perfect love that seemed untouchable, unstoppable, and eternal. Daniel was admired not only for his intelligence but for his humility. From his first year studying computer science, lecturers noticed his ability to grasp concepts faster than most. Programming languages that left others frustrated felt natural to him. He could spend hours debugging lines of code without losing focus, and his classmates often turned to him for guidance. But it wasn't just his mind that set him apart. Daniel had a heart that was rare in its gentleness. He believed in doing right, even when it was inconvenient or painful. He believed in love as a sacred living thing. To Daniel, loving someone meant protecting them, supporting them, sacrificing for them silently, and never counting the cost. Rose, on the other hand, was charming in a way that drew people toward her effortlessly. Her beauty was soft, almost ethereal, and her smile could melt tension in a crowded room. Her eyes could sparkle with joy one moment and fill with tears the next, a skill she wielded almost unconsciously. She wasn't academically gifted like Daniel, but she had learned the art of navigating life with intelligence of a different kind: social intelligence, awareness, and charm. Whenever her coursework became overwhelming, she would run to Daniel. Whenever an exam approached, she leaned on his knowledge. Daniel never refused her. He would sit beside her late into the night, patiently explaining algorithms, walking her through past questions, and helping her untangle every confusion. To Daniel, helping Rose was love in action. To Rose, Daniel was safety and assurance that she would never fail. Yet love, when one side surrenders more fully than the other, carries a hidden tension. Rose would sometimes laugh with friends and say, "As long as Daniel is by my side, I don't have to worry." Her friends would tease her about how lucky she was. She would smile, but deep inside, her attachment to Daniel was based more on benefit than devotion. She loved what he provided in intelligence, support, protection, but her heart did not match the depth of Daniel's devotion. To the outside world, however, they seemed unbreakable, the perfect couple whose love inspired awe. Years passed quickly. Graduation day arrived like a festival of achievement. Parents filled the campus, dressed in their finest, cameras flashing endlessly. Daniel graduated with first-class honors, his name followed by rounds of applause and cheers. His mother wept openly, hugging him tightly, whispering prayers of gratitude. Rose graduated with a respectable second-class degree. She held Daniel's hand throughout the ceremony, whispering softly, "Our future starts now." That night, beneath a sky filled with stars, they spoke dreams, a loud marriage, a small wedding, a cozy home, children running through the living room, and evenings filled with laughter. For a brief moment, it felt as if the world had opened its arms to welcome them. But life after graduation was harsh. Weeks became months. Job applications were sent to every company Daniel could think of. Emails were written with careful attention to detail. Interviews were attended, but each one ended in rejection. Slowly, hope began to fade. Daniel tried to stay strong, whispering to himself, "Something will come. I will not fail." Yet silent frustration gnawed at him as the months dragged on. At home, his mother's health worsened. The strong woman who had raised him with tireless care now coughed weakly in the night. Hospital visits became frequent, and medical bills piled high. Rose's family also struggled, and her mother's whispers of doubt began to reach her ears. What kind of man graduates with first class and still cannot provide? She would ask bitterly, casting silent shadows on their relationship. Rose began hearing these words repeatedly. Slowly, she began to doubt the man she had loved. Desperation forced Daniel to swallow his pride. When a bakery offered him a position, he accepted immediately. Every morning before the sun rose, he tied on an apron and began mixing flour in large metal bowls. The ovens radiated heat that burned his skin. Sweat soaked his shirt, dripping down his back. Former classmates, now more fortunate in some way, saw him and laughed. "See the first-class graduate," they mocked. "All that study just to bake. Bread?" Daniel pretended not to hear. Each bag of flour he lifted reminded him of the chasm between his dreams and reality, but he endured. He used the small salary to buy medicine for his mother and occasionally send money to Rose. He told himself that every drop of sweat, every aching muscle, was part of building a future. Then came the call that changed everything. Rose's voice trembled through the line. "Daniel, I'm pregnant." For a moment, Daniel's heart leaped with joy and terror. Despite their hardships, the idea of fatherhood filled him with hope he hadn't felt in months. He imagined tiny hands, laughter echoing in a small home, a life he could help shape. But Rose's voice carried fear, shame, and uncertainty. She spoke of how society would judge them, of money, of his bakery job. Then came the words that fractured his soul. She wanted to terminate the pregnancy. Daniel begged her, pleaded, promised. He vowed to work harder, to save every penny, to marry her quickly. He believed love and determination could conquer all, but Rose's mother became a relentless force of opposition. She insulted Daniel, questioned his ability to provide, and planted seeds of doubt in Rose's mind. Under that constant pressure, Rose's heart began to waver. Meanwhile, Daniel worked double shifts at the bakery. His hands grew rough and cracked. His back ached. Yet he smiled through the pain, holding tightly to the belief that he was building something important for Rose, for their child, and for his mother. He trusted Rose to check on his sick mother while he worked, believing love meant partnership, faith, and shared sacrifice. But betrayal quietly unfolded behind his back. The money he sent for food and medicine was misused. Rose, overwhelmed by her mother's influence and her own fear, packed her bags and left town for Lagos without telling him. When her phone stopped connecting, Daniel's panic erupted. He rushed home and found his mother lying weak on the floor, barely able to lift her head. The house was empty, no food, no medicine. The air smelled faintly of neglect. He carried her on his back to the hospital, running through the streets with tears streaming down his face. Despite his speed, it was too late. She died holding his hand, whispering his name. At her burial, Daniel stood alone. No Rose, no comfort. Only whispers from neighbors wondering where the girl who had once never left his side had gone. Soon after, he lost his bakery job for abandoning his shift. The world had emptied him completely. Yet destiny had one more twist prepared. A betrayal had emptied him completely. Former university colleague unexpectedly found him and offered a lifeline. Daniel was taken to Lagos and introduced to opportunities that matched his intelligence and potential. Within months, he secured a position as a lead programmer in a growing tech firm. His ideas impressed executives, and his income grew. He moved into a comfortable home. His life appeared restored, but wealth could not erase the kids. Scars etched deep into his heart. When he finally found Rose again, she wept bitterly and confessed she had terminated the pregnancy. Daniel forgave her, though pain lingered like a shadow. She began behaving as if transformed, cooking, cleaning, planning their wedding carefully, but secrets buried in darkness do not remain hidden forever. During a public confrontation, a horrifying truth emerged. Rose had not successfully terminated the pregnancy. She had carried the baby to term and buried the newborn alive out of fear and shame. However, someone had rescued the child and secretly raised him safely. Daniel's son was alive when he held his child for the first time. Every feeling collided: pain, betrayal, grief, relief, love. Tears streamed uncontrollably down his face as he held the boy, feeling a strange healing amidst the heartbreak. Rose's guilt eventually consumed her completely, and her life ended tragically. Daniel chose a different path. He decided that hatred and bitterness would not define him. Instead, he dedicated himself to raising his son with love, integrity, and truth. He learned the harshest lessons, that love must be rooted in truth, that sacrifice without wisdom can be destructive, and that not everyone who stands beside you plans to weather the storms with you. Years later, Daniel became not only a successful tech leader but a devoted father. He had lost innocence, buried his mother, survived betrayal beyond imagination, but he rebuilt. In the laughter of his son, Daniel found redemption. In the joy of watching his child grow, he found purpose. Love had tested him to the deepest limit, but hope had kept him alive. And in the quiet moments, when the sun dipped below the Lagos skyline, Daniel whispered silently, "No one will ever take my family from me again. I will rise and I will protect what truly matters." Moral of the story: the hardest pain often teaches the deepest lessons, and from loss, resilience and redemption can grow. Comment your thoughts. What would you do if you were in Daniel's place? If this story inspired you, hit like, subscribe and share it with others.